Section C. Directions. In this section, you will hear 3 passages. At the end of each passage, you will hear 3 or 4 questions. Both the passage and the questions will be spoken only once. After you hear a question, you must choose the best answer from the 4 choices marked A, B, C and D. Then mark the corresponding letter on answer sheet 1 with a single line through the centre.
Passage 1. In today's job market, it's not uncommon for job seekers to submit applications for many positions. That involves lots of time and lots of work to organize. Certainly, you don't want to waste your precious hours on following the developments in a disorderly fashion and miss important deadlines, confuse interview times, or forget to follow up as a result. Accordingly, managing your job search properly is just as important as identifying job opportunities and submitting your applications. If you're familiar with Microsoft Excel or a similar program, creating a table is a simple and effective way to keep track of your job applications. If Excel isn't quite your cup of tea, don't worry. You can create a table in Microsoft Word or a similar word processor. Google is another tool to help you get organized effectively. If you have a Gmail account, you can create, save, and send tables in addition to written documents like your cover letter and resume. You can also link up with Google Calendar to make sure you stay on top of important dates. Clearly, there are plenty of ways to keep track of your job search, and making the effort to simplify your job search will pay off. Nevertheless, you should always focus on quality, not quantity. Only apply for positions you're qualified for, and make each application count, personalizing each cover letter and updating and editing your resume.
Questions 16 to 18 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 16. What does the speaker say about today's job seekers? Question 17. What can job applicants do with the help of Google? Question 18. What does the speaker suggest job seekers do? Passage 2. Some people say, if kids didn't have to go to school, they'd all be out in the streets. My reply is, no, they wouldn't. First, even if schools stayed just the way they are, children would spend at least some time there because that's where they'd be likely to find friends. Second, schools wouldn't stay the way they are. They'd get better, because we would have to start making them what they ought to be right now. Last, if we stirred up our brains and gave children a little help, those who did not want to go to school could find other things to do, things many children now do during their holidays. There's something easier we could do. We need to get kids out of the school buildings, give them a chance to learn about the world at first hand. In Philadelphia and Portland, Oregon, plans are being drawn up for public schools that won't have any school buildings at all. That will take the students out into the city and help them to use it and its people as a resource. In other words, students, perhaps in groups, perhaps independently, will go to libraries, museums, exhibitions, courtrooms, radio and TV stations, meetings, businesses and laboratories to learn about their world and society at first hand. A small private school in Washington is already doing this. It makes sense. We need more of it.
Questions 19 to 21 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 19. What are some people worried about, according to the speaker? Question 20. What does the speaker think we could do for kids who dislike school? Question 21. What does the speaker say is the easier thing we could do? Passage 3. Before there was the written word, there was the language of dance. Dance expresses love and hate, joy and sorrow, life and death, and everything else in between. Dance in America is everywhere. We dance from Florida to Alaska, from horizon to horizon, and coast to coast. We dance at weddings, birthdays, office parties, or just to fill the time. I adore dancing, says Lester Bridges, the owner of a dance studio in a small town in Iowa. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. Bridges runs dance classes for all ages. Teaching dance is wonderful. My older students say it makes them feel young. It's marvelous to watch them. For many of them, it's a way of meeting people and having a social life. So why do we dance? I can tell you about one young couple, says Bridges. They arrive at the class in a bad mood, and they leave with a smile. Dancing seems to change their mood completely. So, do we dance in order to make ourselves feel better, calmer, healthier? Andrea Hillier, a dance teacher, says, "Dance, like the rhythm of a beating heart, is life. Even after all these years, I want to get better and better. I keep practicing even when I'm exhausted. I find it hard to stop. Dancing reminds me I'm alive."
Questions 22 to 25 are based on the passage you have just heard. Question 22. What does the passage say about dance in America? Question 23. What do we know about Lester Bridges' dance studio? Question 24. What happened to the young couple after they attended Lester Bridges' class? Question 25. What did Andrea Hillier say about dancing?
This is the end of listening comprehension.